My name is Julie Baker. I'm a Doctor of Nursing Practice student at Western Carolina University, and I'm here today to talk about complete streets policies. Here I am in my local community park, Jackson Park here in Henderson County, North Carolina, where we are standing on the only designated bike path, walk path in the entire park. Today I'm going to take a look at the Complete Streets policy, possible adoption for Henderson County under the lens of a few different areas. We're going to be taking a look at the problem, also the background of the issue. So the problem statement that we're going to be analyzing is, would adoption of a Complete Streets policy in Henderson County impact rising obesity rates and encourage physical activity? As I'm sure most of you realize, obesity is an incredibly rising epidemic in the World Health Organization estimates that trillions of dollars are spent annually on obesity throughout the world. Physical inactivity has been listed by the CDC as one of the most prevalent health concerns of our nation currently. So what makes this a problem? What makes this a healthcare issue? Vast infrastructures don't exist in local communities to support people that want to participate in active motion. So what is active motion? Active motion is the ability for you to be able to get to where you want to go on your bike or walking or skateboard or any other methods by using the roadways that exist. Currently, in many rural communities like Western North Carolina, the infrastructure doesn't exist and hasn't existed to share the roadways with vehicles. And now let's take a listen to Chip Johnson, mayor of Hernando, Mississippi, a rural community with a population of only 11,000 people.
Well, in my little state, right now the obesity epidemic is costing us close to $1 billion a year. The Stennis Institute for Governmental Studies has projected that in 8 years that's going to be $3 billion. That will bankrupt the state of Mississippi. We have to do something about it.
We have this crazy situation called hazard busing. What that means is these kids live close enough to school to walk, yet they can't because it's unsafe to get there. Sidewalks are not rocket science. So we need that process to be easier.
There's some bad policy out there that makes all this money be directed towards roads. And we need to be thinking that when we build a road, it's not just for cars. People and bicyclists, there are other forms of transportation that aren't going to pollute our atmosphere, that are going to make people healthier. And we need policy that just encourages that.
Don't ever let anyone tell you that people don't want to exercise or don't want to get outside, because they do. They just don't have the opportunity. And I think at the local level, that's what we're supposed to do, is create an atmosphere and an opportunity for good health. We put in a community center for our entire city, but we put it in the minority poor neighborhood. We put it in the community garden. We put it in the poorest neighborhood. These are things for the whole city, but you can put them in your poor neighborhoods where the people without transportation can get to them.
People in town have all of a sudden, it seems like all of a sudden, it's taken 5 years, they started moving and they started getting outside more often.
These are photos from right outside of my neighborhood in a designated school zone. Would you feel safe biking on these roads? Complete Streets policies are policies that address the built environment to support multi-use roadways. This policy has been adopted by the state of North Carolina to guide the development of transportation networks that encourage non-vehicular travel without compromising safety. Society is beginning to understand that successful treatment of obesity involves more than medication, it involves more than classes, it involves more than people decreasing the amount of food they eat. One of the huge barriers to large groups of people being successful with weight loss is the amount of physical activity they do or don't get. When communities lack infrastructure to support people being able to be physically active as they carry out their normal daily activities, it really prevents them from being able to get the 180 minutes per week that is recommended by the American College of Sports Medicine. Additionally, if people had a way to increase their physical activity, we may be able to see some improvements in rising obesity rates throughout the country. Could be possible to use old train tracks like rails to trails systems for around various communities. They take these old tracks, cover them with pavement, and use them as interconnected pathways, bikeways. So what are some of the options that Henderson County has? Well, one is they could completely adopt complete streets policies. Communities like Asheville, the Raleigh-Durham area, and in fact the entire state of North Carolina have adopted these policies. Again, adopting these policies would require a lot of collaboration through variable disciplines and would require funding, it would require planning, and it would really require all stakeholders involved to be on board with getting this type of policy passed and then implemented. Another thing that Henderson County could do is they don't have to necessarily adopt complete streets, but what they could do is they could utilize some of these techniques when they're thinking about expanding. Henderson County is experiencing an incredible amount of growth, and the infrastructure that's going to be required to attract people from other places is to have the kind of environment that people would like to live in. And across the country, people have shown in many different communities that they would appreciate and approve of measures that would improve walkability and bikeability for their daily activities of living. What's another option? Another option is that Henderson County doesn't do anything, that they continue with their standard requirements, and in many cases, as you've seen in the video, we don't have any kind of designated bike lanes, even on the same streets that schools exist. So one option is that they do nothing, but they implement these types of measures in school districts, school zones, or places that are primarily designed for children to play. So what are my recommendations of these policies? As a healthcare provider, you might find it strange that I'm analyzing an infrastructure policy or a transportation policy. Some of you may even consider this to be an environmentalist policy, and really I would argue that they all kind of fall under what healthcare providers should be concerned with. But I strongly support immediate adoption of complete streets policies to help our community meet recommended legislative policies to support physical activity and active transport, provide safe modes of alternate transportation for all citizens, and anticipate positive impacts on local obesity rates. As a healthcare professional serving my community as an advanced practice nurse, I cannot ignore the looming health and financial difficulties that will continue to rise with rising obesity rates. Allocating funds for complete streets policy adoption will set local government precedents of placing disease prevention at the forefront of community development for all citizens. So, you guys, the next time you have a chance to hear about complete streets or figure out what kind of policies impact, or look around your kids' schools and realize that there are no places for them to safely ride their bikes or walk or commute or anything, check out to see if your local cities or municipalities or local governments have adopted or implemented these types of policies. Again, the state of North Carolina adopted these policies in 2009, and slowly but surely other communities in our state are adopting these.